Hello everybody and welcome back to M&J Games. I am Michael and today we're looking at a PC park and I'm doing this through GeForce Now, so I'm wanting to allow you guys to see, for those of us who do not have a PC that has the capability of playing this game adequately, how you can use the streaming service to still play the game. I think it runs pretty well, but then again, I don't have any sort of comparison to put it towards other than having a computer that can't play it. So this is a park that is called Velocity Lake and is created by Matt Lowne. He is a YouTuber, and most of you probably know him, but if not, make sure to go check out his channel. I will put a link below, and I'm also putting a link to his series, which is of this park called Velocity Lake. It's got 70 episodes where he goes through and builds absolutely everything that you see in this park. So there's nothing that's ever built off camera or nothing's ever changed off camera. And so to me, it's one of the best series on YouTube. And one thing that makes it so great, as you can kind of see us just going around the park here, kind of get an overview, is that when, um, sorry, I'm kind of learning the controls still. I mean, you could just see a lot of coasters. This is right up my alley. I mean, you got three right there. It looks like a launch coaster, and then you've got a big, either a hyper or Giga Coaster with a nice hotel in the background. And now, for some reason, when I loaded this park, the water didn't fully load in as well in terms of how high it's supposed to be. So I don't know why that is. So I apologize about that. But I mean, just look at this area right here. I just love how that looks. Looks super nice. Oh man, what was I saying? But yeah, so make sure to go check out this playlist. And the reason that's so good is for us console players, or those of us who don't have the opportunity to use TMTK, is everything he does, he uses without TMTK. So I think that's really cool because what it does is it allows somebody like me who's playing on console who doesn't have, we don't have the opportunity to use TMTK items. It allows us to fully kind of see what he does for certain things and try to either replicate that or use those ideas. And so let's go ahead and get started. Now, one thing I want to look at first is, let me put the HUD back on. If you look here, 7,000 objects for this part right here. But I just want to specifically look. Yeah, so you can see this fencing that's used right here, this plank flint fence, he's just doubled it and he's used that kind of as the road barriers. And so that to me is a really kind of really cool, really nice touch. And so as you can see now as we're entering the park, um, this is not made using pathing. This is using, I think it's probably, I don't know exactly which pieces he used, but I mean, 7,000 pieces, that's about 18% on the PS4. So it would take you about 18% for whatever these 7,000 pieces represented, which I think it just represented this long area. But as you can see, what a cool drive. As you're driving in and you see the Giga Coaster on your left, you see the nice skyline of coasters. And we're going to drive on the left side because since this creator is from the UK, I'm going to respect where they drive. And even though it is on the wrong side of the road, in my opinion, but so yeah, I mean, this is crazy how long this is and how long this must have taken him. But as you see, we've got a sign here. It says Lowne Curb Town, and so it's telling you where to get off for the theme park. And so now if we kind of look to our left, we see this massive hybrid coaster that looks like it's custom supported. And then we've got this exit way where we can get off the ride. And so as I said before, I'm still new to playing this game on PC, and so I'm still learning a lot of the controls. So please bear with me if at any point I totally make a mistake with the controls. I apologize. Yeah, and so he put a little bit of a turn to this. That's really cool. I remember him doing this in one of his videos. He was talking about how from an engineering standpoint, you don't have just a flat road. So he tried to make it curved a little bit, which is really cool. If you can hear my cat yelling in the background, sorry about that. He gets the zoomies here at night and starts whining about who knows what, and then starts running around. So apologize about that. But as you can see, so that's something we can do here is making, oops. So just using these, good gosh, 54 objects for what? Oh, it's including this whole area. Okay, I was about to say, just for that, there's no way. So this is just using the emergency lights, and then this right here is screen mounting pole. So that part represents the screen mounting pole, and then you have your road sign pole and another road sign pole right there. And so just by using those, it creates this look of, what's this right here? Thick wooden, okay, thick wooden beam. It creates I'm guessing that's for employees. So the employee entrance, and then here we have the massive car park. We'll go ahead and get this off the screen. I'm just going to leave this up because there's probably going to be a lot of times where I click on something so we can kind of see how this creator created this. So let's go ahead, and this seems like it's going slow, so let me change to a different camera real quick to kind of jump ahead. And now before we do anything, let's kind of get an elevated view of this area. And so as we can see, to the right is all kind of employee stuff. Like you've got a warehouse here, you've got what looks like offices, another warehouse, other set of warehouse over here, and you got the monorail. And one thing I remember him saying the monorail did is it doesn't actually go to anywhere else in the park. It just kind of goes over here to the hotel and then turns around, and then he does this to where it's like, oh, you can go on the monorail in here, and then you show up at one of his other parks, essentially. But it just basically does a turnaround. So as you can see, this is called Velocity Lake, and that's a really, really well done entrance. I love this building right here. You can see a little bit of wood sticking out, but I love kind of what he did with this entrance building. And so we got the blue line, then we got the red line. And as you can see, this is one thing that's cool about PC that I wish they would have done on console. Like, I don't understand why. I guess it's just because they didn't have the scenario editor, because there's no reason for us to enlarge a map. Simply because we can't even use the size of the maps right now for the most part. But he just moved the spawn point to where the guests all look like they're coming in the park, simply from, like, they came on the why can't I speak right now? Like they came in on the subway. So you've got your tickets, and then now you come in this entrance. So when we look to the right, we've got a food place, you've got your clock tower, and right away when you come in, you see the massive coaster in the background. I mean, look at the skyline right here. You only see a couple, but the ones you see kind of get you, are enticing, right? It's like, oh man, I can't wait to ride these coasters. So you've got this custom bridge. Oh no. See, this is where I need to apologize. As I was saying before, I have no idea where I'm at. Okay. Oh wow, I'm here. Well, let's look at the monorail station. So yeah, this is a really detailed monorail station. Really impressive. So that's probably the most impressive build in my opinion. Like a most impressive singular build in the park is this monorail station, just because of the detail and the design and so forth. So I think that's really cool. So now, like I said, I don't know why it does this, but it seems like sometimes the cursor, the dial on the mouse, the cursor, kind of messes up sometimes. So if that happens, I apologize. So as we can see here, what we now have is we have a bridge that's 4,000 objects. My gosh. And I mean, just every bridge in this park is done from scratch, which is amazing. Now this is one area when he built it, I just thought this area was really cool. And I was like, man, I want to have something like this in one of my parks, where you've got the elevation change of the guest walking down there. You've got the guest walking down there, and then you've got this nice coaster that's kind of this visual as you go into the park. And I always thought that's really cool. One thing he does is basically everything's custom curbs. Hard for us to do that on console because that can really take up the piece count. And so if we go this way, we got a carousel, and then we've got a little food court area. And then now here you've got your coaster. And there's the exit. You've got your, I guess they in the UK say don't dive fencing, right? We just in America say chain link fence. So I don't think I'd heard don't dive fencing until watching a lot of your guys' videos. So now here is the entrance to the coaster, and this is obviously a ride everybody wants to go on. And here we've got the transfer track. So it looks like it's just in there. Yeah, it's not decked out or anything. But really, really well done. Stations, to me, it's pretty nice. Used a lot of different, looks like pieces, used some trim. And then it looks like that's where you just set your belongings on. And so I think this coaster is only running one train, and this is based off of the Intamin Megalight coaster, which I think there are a couple of them in the world that basically have the same layout. So this is called Blue Bullet. So our waiting, let's look at the stats. 2,700 feet, 60 miles per hour, 108 feet biggest drop. So nothing too crazy. G's look good overall. And it's got one airtime count. So let's go ahead and ride the coaster. Alright, so that is the first of many coasters here in the park. So let's go ahead and exit out of that. So you got the chair swing there, and you've got another pathway here, and there's a lot of path interaction in that ride, which was cool. So now we got two different ways we could go. And let's see what you did with the sign. So to me, I think this is a little weird having the sign be that wide, but I understand it's for it's basically duplicated over and over and over again because this is like a little dragon coaster. You wanted to kind of model what your see. I don't know why it does that. This makes no sense to me why it does that. All right. You wanted to kind of model the castle look. So as you can see here, this is the family coaster, and it's got a lot of you put fencing all the way around it, which I think looks nice. So obviously it's called it's a dragon coaster, so it's just called Dragon. So let's go ahead and ride this coaster. All right, so there's the Dragon Coaster. Now, for this next part, we're not going to fully ride the ride, just for the sake of time, because I don't want this video to be crazy long. I mean, it's already going to be long enough riding 8 coasters. But as you can see, we've got a river rapids here, and just this entrance slash queue building is crazy good. I mean, look at the detail of it. This is amazing. And so if we go inside there, I mean, so much detail with the cross beams and stuff. And then you've got this also, this cube, which is basically the same, very similar building, but just a lot of detail. And all of this is with pieces that we could use as well, which is what's really cool. Oh, and one thing I meant to do as well, if we go back to the Dragon Coaster, is this fencing that's used to kind of go around the perimeter of the coaster is just made up of Ordnate Planet Coaster fence, and then you have just a graveyard pillar. So it's just, but the thing is, if we were to do that on console, it takes up a lot of the piece count because or it takes up more pieces because you're having to use like 5 pieces for every one of those. Now, for anybody who's seen my Trinity Lake Park, I got the inspiration for one of my buildings from this one. I kind of modeled it very similar to it, not the exact same, but very similar, similar concept and idea. And that's one thing that's really good about this guy's park and how he does stuff is it's very easy to watch his videos and try to kind of emulate it and model it to put it in, to put it in your park. And, little things like the door or, making these shutters or blinds, like that's not even stuff that I would have even thought to make until I saw kind of how this creator did it. And then you've got like a little area right there. And then we've got a little backstage area for employees when they, in theory, need to walk to and from work. And so use the terrain paint here to kind of look like a lot of travel has happened on that grass and that path. So really, really well done. And a little no entry there. So that's kind of a good thing. Now look at, golly, look at this bridge. This is just phenomenal. Phenomenal. So it looks like those are either center block pieces or temple pieces. Let me see. Yeah, the temple platform. But then here we just used the road sign pole. So that's 680 objects, not too bad. And that's the temple block slope. So then, I remember him saying in one of his videos that he loves using the temple pieces because they're so versatile. So then you come over here, and this is kind of like a, is this considered steampunk? I don't know. So it's it's a very industrial area. And I believe this is the one coaster in the park that he did using the 4-meter method. And he talked about how time consuming that was. So it looks like we got a coaster that's about to leave the station. So let's go ahead and ride the ride, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. All right, now, really cool ride, but just look at this area. You've got the kind of industrial look, industrial feel. Really well done. And then use the tarmac terrain paint, since it is an industrial place, to terrain paint those areas. And a lot of the industrial pieces to kind of cover up some pieces in the pathing that didn't quite work out, because he doesn't really use many grid-based paths in the park. He doesn't create a lot of plazas. What he'll do is he'll have a lot of unique looking paths, but then it leaves some awkward spaces. And so then he'll have to be creative with it and do things like here, where you've got the cement pieces kind of covering up. So let's say, but I think it's pretty cool what he does with this, because let's say you take off that, you see how it's just covering up that area of path. And so it's trying to figure out and create a way that you could say, all right, well, how can I know that's an issue, so how can I kind of mask it, And I think this creator does a great job of it. So in here, oh gosh, it's broken down. Okay. We might have to come back to this one, but we'll see. Actually, you know what? I actually created a POV before, so I'll just go ahead and edit that POV in. But as you can see, just once again, good path interaction. You've got this coaster going right by the path. I mean, this is a long coaster, a lot of inversions. It's really cool. And so I'm going to go ahead and edit in the POV of this, and then I can get your guys' thoughts. All right, so I'd love to hear what you guys thought of this coaster. And I mean, just look at this view. I mean, once again, you've got a nice bridge there, the same as that bridge at the front. Nice little area to eat, but you've got these massive paths, and you've got, I think, 4 different areas where the coaster, as it comes out here, it does this really unique inversion, and then you go down here into basically underground, and then same thing multiple times. And so I just feel like when I was watching him create this, I was like, man, this just looks awesome to me, how the paths are. And you've got all these trees and these bushes, and it looks nice. Because sometimes I feel like when I'm putting a lot of bushes down, I'm like, man, that doesn't look that good. But as you can see, it's about varying it up, but you also have to have enough to kind of cover up um, make sure it's being covered up, if that makes sense. So really cool, really well done. impressive coaster. I think that's my favorite of the ones we've ridden so far. And I just think the layout of it's really nice and kind of the design of everything around it. And of course, I love that launch into that inversion. It's very Incredible Hulk-esque. All right, so now, and yeah, so that's another thing when you see this here, he's trying to cover up kind of the imperfections in the path. And so if we look now, let's do the overview of this coaster, this, whatever it's called, this one's called, it's a coaster support. So he did custom support part of this. I don't know if he did the whole thing, so he called it Vertigo. Now, okay, so it's just this loop's custom supported, and I think that has to do with probably where the path is located at. But as you can see, we'll go look at the station in a second, because in my Trinity Lake Park, my first main coaster called Flatline, I tried to mimic that station to this one for a lot of it at least, and so I like this don't die fencing that's protecting the guest right there. And then you got the coaster running right by the path here. So we'll kind of wait for a second as you can see it. Yeah, I mean, that's super nice. A little bit laggy at times, but I mean, this is a massive park. I can't even imagine how many pieces, like what the piece count is in this park. Um, so I like these really big hedges. What is this for? Okay, so this is like basically staff roads and stuff, essentially. So I'll show you at the end, but he basically connected the entire park with staff roads, and he did pathing for that. So that's something on console we flat out can't do, right? Um, Paths kill the meter on console. And so this is something that I modeled my park after, or one of my rides was, now it wasn't the exact same type of ride, which means that it wasn't the exact same type of track and different things, but kind of having this dual colored station in terms of the same type of material, just a little bit, the colors just a little bit altered, and then you're using the poles to kind of be the supports of it, and then you use, one thing that Iron Matty helped me realize is that using a lot of these individual planks adds up the piece count when you can just use an art piece for the same amount, but then when you exit, you walk kind of back over the path. For me, I had it walk back over the coaster, went underneath, but so that's kind of where I modeled this from. And you see you've got kind of a walkway for this transfer track area. So I think it's pretty well done. I mean, that hybrid coaster just looks fantastic in this park. So I still think the red coaster, is it called Red Devil? I forgot what it's called, is my favorite. And so you got this little special walkway. Don't remember where that goes, but it's all good. And at the end, we'll also look at nighttime just to kind of see what this is all like. And so that's like a little pier, which normally would be above water. So I don't know why the water kind of disappeared on part of it. So here is the Giga Coaster. What we all come to the park for. I'm just kidding, or at least I think it's a Giga. Let's see if it's a Giga or not. And all these rides are broken down. Let's see. I don't know what I'm looking for. Oh, results. All right, it's 1 foot away from a Giga. Come on, Matt. You couldn't make it one more foot to make it a Giga Coaster? I mean, come on. But yeah, that looks really cool. So it looks like, is this custom supported? Yep, so these are all custom supports for a lot of this coaster, especially going up the lift hill and this part right here, which what pieces did he use? Coaster support large. Yeah, so I guess that's just to, I don't really know the reasoning for that, I guess, is adding the, whatever the, for the chain, I think is what it's, the reasoning for it, but kind of extending that up. And so as we can see this coaster here, I mean, that's phenomenal. And if you look down here at this queue, so this is supposed to kind of have more of a sci-fi or like a space theme to it, whereas the Red Devil had kind of a sci-fi theme. And that's one thing too, is if you're looking for just how to do certain things in this park but not really theme it as much, I mean, this could definitely be a good park to look at because I'm pretty bad with theming. So at least when I'm trying to create parks, or at least when I was getting started, I just wanted to do like a Six Flags Cedar Fair style park, and this definitely works out for that. And so here, I like these, whatever this is that he made, just using the cable pieces and this kind of covering. I think it looks really cool. And then I think this is the best transfer track that he made in the game. So it's very similar to the last one in terms of it's open aired. You got 2 tracks, you've got the locomotive rail, but I also like how it's supports, instead of it just being a single support piece, you use these kind of iron scaffolding pieces. So I think that's a job well done. And then you've got this door, and the door trick that he uses is basically, let's see if I can. So it's the firehouse door. It's turned sideways, sideways, horizontal like that, and then obviously you've got vertical. And what it does is it creates that depth to it, because normally if you don't have it that way, there is no depth to this door, right? So if you create that kind of border, and then you kind of sink it back, it kind of creates that kind of depth to it. Oh, that is one thing, by the way, on here I want to show you is the advanced move tool on here is so much better than on console. And by that I mean it can be more precise because instead of having to worry about the joysticks and trying to get it perfect, you just slide it. So it's a lot easier to get it perfect and match things up because you're simply sliding. And we don't have to press a key to basically say, oh, let's go to the next one. You just click on the one you want. Now, I will say, after trying to learn a lot of the stuff in this game on the PC version, I have zero idea how in the world Frontier put all of these controls onto a single controller for console. That in itself is amazing, and all of us console players should be unbelievably grateful that we're even able to get the game on console because there are so many controls, in my opinion, and I don't know how they did it. All right, so I forgot to ask, after we rode Pulsar, which coaster did you like that one more than any of the other ones so far? To me, that was a really, really good hyper coaster. It's not a Giga Coaster. It's 1 foot off. Or I guess some people would say, well, it's not necessarily how big the drop is, it's how high it is off the ground. Some people believe that, but it's really not how big the drop is, right? So here's a family coaster, probably modeled after the newer Vekoma coaster, Vekoma Infinite coaster. There's only 2 across. I like how you got a little bit of path interaction there. Alright, so there's the coaster. We have ridden almost every coaster in this park so far. Kind of crazy to believe. If you're still hanging with me, I appreciate it. I'm trying to make this as quick as possible with showing off everything. So there we go. So now, here is the hotel for the park. And in Trinity Lake, I tried to do somewhat model a hotel off of this one, or kind of use the idea for the windows and different stuff. I ended up doing it differently though, because I didn't want to do it the exact same. But essentially, kind of created one of these and then just duplicated it. And you know, some moments are a little bit tougher than that from what I could see, but I think it looks good. You got a very, very nice look of the hyper coaster and of the rest of the park, of course. And so if anybody's wondering, the time that I have this park set at right now was what it is when I opened it, which is 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I believe, because I think so I think it's at 14. Well, I guess you could see it down here. It's at 3 p.m. So if we change this to 12, you know, it's a little bit more neutral with the sun. So some of the colors, you're not necessarily dealing with the sun. So let's go ahead and, which I guess that's, okay, so that's another unique bridge that, golly, how many bridges are there in this park? There, you got the main one, over there, this one, okay. And then we got a nice little food stand and Hat's Fantastic. Oh, what is that? It's like a little colorful pergola. I think I said that right. So now, a couple of the bridges were just copied, but that's okay. I mean, I can't imagine how long it takes to make one of these. So now we've got the forge. As you can see, kind of the hyper coaster in the background just looks awesome. And this is one of my favorite areas of the park, just in terms of the design of it, because if you look from the elevated view, I mean, you got a lot of, sorry for the lag, you got a lot of path interaction here, kind of with all these different flat rides, but it's all going right next to this massive hybrid coaster. I almost said hyper coaster. It might be a hybrid coaster, we'll see. But you can see the custom fencing here. And so this is made with what looks to be a wooden plank, 2 meters, and then a wooden pillar, 1 meter. I forgot they had 1 meter wooden pillars. So, and that's kind of the fencing that this creator ended up using throughout this whole ride. Now this bridge was really cool to see him make, simply because it has this awkward angle coming off of it. And so it took a little bit for this creator to figure out, okay, what do I need to do to make this work? And it was a lot of work, but I think it turned out really well. Looks really cool. You've got this nice little diner piece over here. And so now we've got this hybrid coaster. Before we do that, if you go over here, one thing, we've got this kind of area to the backstage, and I like how, is that the western fence? Let me see. Oh, that's cool. Okay, so this is just the western fence, and then you've got another one. Yeah, then you've got another one there. So basically this is just the western fence copied over and over and over again to give it the look of like a gate that would open up. Man, that's really cool. That's a really cool touch. And so this is just kind of like another little backstage area or employee access area. So now, let's get this off the screen. So now we've got Scream, and we're not going to worry about walking in the cube, but I want us to go look at this drop right here. So look at, so you got some nice lighting on the coaster. Look at those custom supports. I mean, this reminds me of when I did that review of that creator on PC who made the, what's it called? The new RMC concept coaster that's coming to Fun Park. Or I think that's what it's called. Wherever the one is in Atlanta. It's starting to get late here, so I'm starting to blank on kind of my thoughts. But as you can see, I mean, this is just incredible. This custom supporting on this coaster, 8,000 pieces when you include all this different area. So really cool. Let's go ahead and ride the coaster. So let's see where it's at. All right, still not done. So let's exit out. And then let's go down here to the station and we will ride the coaster. So one thing that you can tell that this creator likes doing is, I guess it's the metal roof, never mind. So, you know, you can tell and see this is a nice station using some wooden pieces. Once again, there's the fencing we just talked about, and then there's another type of fencing as well. And one thing that I like here that this creator did is this extra part, because to add on this extra walkway for the employees for the transfer track area, which the transfer track kind of circles back around, which you don't see that too often. He just simply used this flooring that is I believe that's the balcony, haunted house balcony, or it might not be haunted house, it might just be balcony. And in doing so, you were allowed to create this extra little walkway. And so I think it looks super nice. And then if you come around here to the transfer track, you got the door and you got your transfer track in there. So yeah, so let's go ahead and look at these stats on the coaster and then we'll ride this coaster. Oh, that's the wrong one. I clicked on the... So let's look at the stats. Everything's in green. That's 806. That's really high. Max speed 80 miles per hour. Biggest drop 209 feet. So it's like literally the exact same height as... actually, you know what? That'd be the tallest hypercoaster in the world. Because I think it was like 206 is the new one that still hasn't opened yet, Iron Gwazi. But vertical G's may be a little bit high, but everything looks good. And so let's go ahead and ride the coaster. All right, so now that we've ridden all the coasters in the park, which one do you guys think is your favorite? I mean, I'm torn. I don't know to choose between this coaster or the red one. And honestly, I think I'm probably going to go with the red one. I like the uniqueness of it. And this one would be my second favorite, and then the hyper coaster, and then probably the intimate megalite, and then probably fifth, sixth, seventh, and then eighth. With this, actually, you know what? This one would probably be seventh since it is inverted. It's a little bit different. Whereas the dragon coaster would be my eighth. But really cool, really well done. Now, last thing I wanted to show you guys is I wanted us to look at the backstage area and how this creator does the backstage area. So what we have here is we have employee parking, what looks like probably an office space. And then this is where I got my idea for my most recent kind of warehouse that I did, which I kind of put some of my own touches on it, just because he uses a lot of individual pieces for this, and you got these windows. But with how he did the kind of the drop off bays and stuff, and I think that's definitely cool. Also, how you can cover up the trash can or the trash um, the trash collectors essentially by using these box cars and using it 2 times here and then 2 times there. And so that's really cool. And then one thing too here is there is actually a ride in here, and it's the little trolley or whatever it's called that's going to go around the park. So it looks like you've got like a maintenance vehicle constantly running around the park. So I think that's a pretty cool touch. And then you've got I don't know why this is all of a sudden moving very slow. So sorry about that. There we go. So now we've got another warehouse area, which this one looks like it's going to house more stuff. And, you know, you've got like a small flat ride here. So it's a ride that's maybe out of order or something like that. And then you've got some warehouses and so forth. And then if you were to, let's get elevated again real quick. So as you can kind of see, this creator just decided to basically have a path that runs around the entire park to where there could be employee access and stuff like that. It kind of reminds me of something that Nerd Chacho did in his most recent park, where you just kind of got a ability or a way for the employees to get around. And then you've got right here, and so that's, you know, it's gated off and protected to where then the employees can leave and stuff like that. So really beautiful park. I mean, this is fantastic. It's a beautiful park, beautiful layout. Love to hear your guys' opinions. Like I said, which ride did you like the most? Is this a series that you guys would be willing to watch or look at? Because to me, it gave me a lot of inspiration. It still does. I'll still go back and watch some stuff sometimes or check some stuff out. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this. And as always, if you enjoy the video, make sure to hit that like button and make sure you subscribe so that you can stay tuned to stay up to date when we release content here at M&J Games. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.